Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you know when I'm posting new content. We're getting pretty far on this Ranger project. A lot of the major stuff is done, and now we're going to switch over to some of the little things here and there to button up. As you see here, I'll post some photos of this, but this was a handbrake handle for our hydraulic handbrake. Got that finished up, but we're going to be doing the air intake from the airbox to the turbo, and also probably a transmission tunnel cover, and we'll see how far that goes. Maybe do some other things in this episode, so follow along here. So the first thing we're going to start with is connecting from our airbox down to the turbo. It's a pretty tight bend and fitment there, but we'll manage to make it work. I went ahead and secured this all the way. Talked about earlier about a bracket, so I went ahead and bent something up and welded it on there, just a couple of bolts. And I already cut 2 pieces of aluminum to slide in there, just straight starts. So we'll go ahead and show you what we got here. Went ahead and bought some 3.5 inch 063 wall aluminum tubing. I was wanting to get 6061 but didn't have it, so I went with 6063. It'll work fine for what we're needing. And what we're going to do is do pie cuts out of this, so because we don't have a way to bend this, we're going to do angle cuts back and forth, and we stack them up and rotate them, we'll be able to create a radius. And so what I did to facilitate that was I drew these straight lines on here, one 180 degrees from the other. And I don't know if you can see it, but there are lines on here, kind of marks from the extrusion process. So I referenced one of those to create a nice straight line, and then went around to the other side. Used a center finder to get across on the other side, and drew another line. So what we're going to be doing is we have the bandsaw here, and this is set up at a slight angle. I put it at 5 degrees. And let's see if this will fit this. We'll back it out. So pretty much the process is we'll make a cut, flip it all the way over 180 degrees, and make another cut. And we'll create these triangles as we go. And we'll take those and start stacking them up on there, and we'll be able to make angles. So I'll get this going, cut out probably 10 of these, so we have plenty to work with. Yeah, 10 of them should probably be good. Might go about 12, so just have extra. Anyway, so we'll get those, and I'll show you how we can stack those up and start making angles out of them. So now that that's all done, we got these all cut out. Gonna have to go in deburr these. They got a lot of sharp edges and stuff, and this way they'll all be prepped for welding once we get them all set up in there. So I went ahead and got some of these pie cuts tacked up. You can kind of see when they're stacked up there, you create an angle out of them. And those lines we drew earlier help to line up. You line the lines up there, and you get a inline bend, but you can do a compound bend if you start to misalign those, and you start going this way and then also that way. Anyway, I got 2 of these tacked up. We got one down there on the turbo, and it's tacked up to the straight piece. And I've been kind of hard to see here, but kind of sticking this on here and seeing our alignment and how that's all going to go here. I think I need to put one more angle piece on that. We'll see how it goes. Once that's looks like they're going to line straight up, then we'll measure between them, cut a straight piece, and then tack that all in and make sure it all works. So just finished up the mock-up of the intake tube here. Got all tacked in place, everything cut. We had a little straight piece there will be perfect because I need to put in a air temp sensor, and then also have some stuff like that there that need to vent back into the intake. So got that all tacked up, gonna yank that out and go ahead and do the full weld, which will take quite a bit of time because every seam has to be fully welded. And I've done it before on the exhaust, it takes a bit of time. So anyway, we'll get that all welded up and fit in here. Alright, so there we have it, all finished up, and it fits pretty well. Well, not entirely finished. One, I'm not the best aluminum welder, so the beads aren't like laying dimes. So plus I want a different look than a bunch of welds on there. So I'm going to try grinding these all down and see how if I can get it to be a polished look, maybe like a one-piece look. We'll see how that turns out. But we got our straight piece in here, which is perfect. This is a factory Mustang air raid duct, and one thing we need is this air intake temp, one of our plugs anyway, and there needs to go to that, so we need to fit this into there, and also probably, I know at least this needs to dump in there. We'll see if there's any other fittings that need to go in there. I have a catch can that's going to be going on, so I need to look to see, well, that one dumps into right there. So yeah, we'll at least get their intake temp there. You might try tying this into that dump there, so it all flows into the same spot, and easy for that instead of welding another piece into here. So anyway, we'll get this back out, get something figured out for this air intake temp, and then we'll start grinding that all down, which, like the welding, it'll take a while, but should be good with the finished result once that's all ground down and polished out. So here's the sensor block that I came up with, just a simple piece of aluminum that I had laying around, some scrap. It's about 3/8 thick, 60-61, not that it really matters, but it'll weld up to that good. Sensor fits in there, 9/16 hole, and then there will be a retaining washer right there and a screw that retains that little tab down. Nope, lost the washer. Anyway, we'll go ahead and get that welded onto the intake pipe and then start polishing it out. So we got this intake tube all finished up, got all the welds sanded down and polished up here. It's not a perfect mirror finish, but I think it fits the rest of the truck pretty well. We didn't want a mirror finish piece in here with nothing else really fully polished, so good satin finish on that. Got this air intake temp sensor in here, and shortened up the wiring harness. It was kind of a big loop like this, but since that placed right there, went ahead and cut that down, so that worked out pretty good. And then something else, got some more parts in, and a new bracket for the alternator mount here, so went ahead and got that installed. Probably try to shoot some photos in of that, but anyway, bracket there that bolts onto where the AC pump was, bolts on the alternator, have a turnbuckle down here for tension, because that's where it originally was. Not going to fit there. Fits pretty good there. I do need to get a different belt because this one here is a little loose even when that's all the way out, but I'll go ahead and put the part number in on that for the gates once I get the right one. So yeah, gonna finish that up, get the wire ran from that up to here, so that's kind of fully buttoned up there. And as far as the wiring left underneath here, that'll wait till we get a radiator in. So I think that's it for now underneath the hood. There's still more to do underneath here, but I think next we're gonna jump over to the inside here, and I'll start showing you how I'm gonna make a transmission tunnel cover. So I'll get set up and kind of go from there. So we got a piece of cardboard here. It's actually an air filter box that I decided to repurpose. So kind of lay it down in here and start figuring out where we want to cut. Alright, so we'll get our aluminum and then trace this out on it and then start bending. Alrighty, so there we go. I don't think I mentioned before, but this is like it's 50-52 aluminum. I think like 031, 035, so it's easy to work with, but still plenty strong. Don't want to stand on it, but what we're doing, it's going to be perfectly fine. Gotta trim up some of these edges, make it so it's not so sharp. Then I'll peel off the plastic protectant, get some sheet metal screws, and we'll start fastening that down, kind of get it centered in here how we want it and start screwing it down. But I think that's going to work pretty good. Then we'll have to get some sort of shift boot to go around here. Alrighty, so there we got a transmission tunnel all finished up. Doesn't feel like it's sitting on anything. Once we get a carpet kit in here, I'll go ahead and put some sound deadener on top of that, because I'm sure that'll vibrate pretty good. So put some sound deadener on that and it should be all good to go. I probably used a little overkill on screws, but didn't want it moving around, and it's pretty firm right now. So now we got that done, we'll start working on a few things over in here. Got a handle for the handbrake, switch panel here that I had made up out of aluminum. We'll have a our exhaust cutout, a momentary for line lock, probably a on-off for line lock, and then an extra one for just any tuning one on there. And then here we have a manual valve line lock. These are actually for like a circle track car. But anyway, we'll hook this up in here so it will lock out the rear brakes, whether we want them on or disabled. We'll have a manual valve to do that. So we'll get that all figured out in here. Figure out that we'll probably have that kind of tucked up right in there. And probably have this about in there. So anyway, we'll get that stuff mounted and continue on. So I made a bit of progress in here. Got my wiring switch panel installed there. So this switch here is going to be the exhaust dump, and then these two here will be the line lock. We got a momentary for it, and also a on-off, and they're wired together, so depending on how I want to do it, I can just momentary hold the line lock on or set it on. Then we got another one here just for future use. Got the control box for the exhaust cutout temporarily mounted here. Just kind of put it with some tape. It has some screw holes, so once we go ahead and put a carpet kit in here, I'll permanently mount that. Got our manual line lock for the rear mounted. Brake lines ran up to it. Still got to get a brake line from it to the master cylinder for the handbrake, but we got a brake line routed down and around. Probably can't see it, but right down there, and has a union in there. Kind of ran into a little bit of a hiccup with this rear fitting. The instructions don't really describe it very well, but evidently you have to use a copper washer in there, kind of what they use on a banjo bolt. So I got to go get that, and then also, since I have to use that fitting, I need to get a braided stainless steel soft line. And speaking about hard lines, I mocked them up using just some aluminum welding wire. It was easy to bend and unbend if I messed it up. And then once I got that all fitting how I want it to, I just transferred it over to the hard line, and it worked out pretty good. So gonna wait on, gonna order a soft line for that, and then get the correct washer for that. Finish that up, and then we'll probably bleed the brakes. But while we're waiting on that, we're gonna move over to the rear suspension here, work with my ladder bar setup. Made, I guess those are kind of stuck in there. Made little bushings to go in there. I'll shoot some pictures in and a part number. But pretty much your energy suspension bushings, then they fit into this metal tube. Cut that down to size, and then we're gonna have a 1-inch 090 tube going up to here. And I don't know where my actual mount plate is, but it's kind of similar to this. We'll end up taking this parking brake cable off and welding a bracket to the frame. But before we get to that, I'm going to kind of rotate this rear end out to get more access to both sides. End up taking the wheels and tires off, putting it on jack stands, and then setting this at ride height. Kind of how I did it before to get the drive shaft, but instead of putting weight on the back, now that this is actually bolted in everything, I'm going to try doing some ratchet straps from this cross member underneath the axle and sucking that down to try to get ride height. That way, because I wanna make the bar level. We got a few adjustments here. I want to put it in the center one and then make the bar level so that if we want to make some adjustments up or down, we can do that and the center will be level and we can go from there. Alright, so I got the truck all set up here, wheels and tires off, put it on some blocks so that it's the same height as if it was sitting on the tires. Got a ratchet strap wrapped around the rear axle, cinched down to ride height. Then I set up a laser level here and line it up with the center line of that hole there, and then positioned this bracket here right at the center there, squared it all up and tacked it in place. So we'll go ahead and do the same over on the other side. Let me grab some bushings here. So this will be a little unconventional in how it's set up. It's not going to be a rod end, but these are some more energy suspension bushings. I'll put the part number in for that. Pretty much those are going to go in there, and the tube with the end is going to come up right to there. And then what we'll end up doing is having a bolt go through and some washers stack up so you can adjust the depth here. And so that if we want to make more adjustment in this. But anyway, that's going to kind of be the setup there. We'll end up doing a full weld on both sides here and then gusseting up top there. And then we'll later have to figure out how we're going to mount the brake line. But for right now, that's kind of what we got going. Alrighty, so we got some more parts in here. We got the correct tube ends and the right size tube here. So I went ahead and cut the tube to length and coped it, kind of using not really cheating, but an easy method. If you have CAD, you can set up what they call a coping diagram. Pretty much you end up making a piece of paper that you wrap around there and you grind it down to fit for your specific joint. So that fits right into our bushing right there, and we got our tube end in there, and kind of come down here, see it right height, sitting pretty much level, and then on this side here we can adjust it up and down. And I put some extra washers in here, so if we want to shorten this up, we can take out a washer, tighten it down, and we'll compress this more. If we want to lengthen it, we can add in some washers and it'll kind of push that back. So got this one all mocked up. Gonna go ahead and do the other one on the other side. Go ahead and tack it up, pull it out and do full welds, and then we'll end up welding this to the frame. And after that's stuck on there, we'll put this gusset in here. So that should, and then pull that off and paint it. But got the tubes all welded up, all finished cleaning these up and put some paint on them. We'll go over here to the truck, get this clamp out of the way. Went ahead and burnt those in, did full welds on both sides there, and then added in that gusset there, so it should be good and stout. Go ahead and mask it out a little bit, and we'll shoot some paint on there so nothing's rusting. Once everything's all painted up, we'll go ahead and bolt it all together, and that might be it for the back here. I might actually be able to get the bed on the truck. So I got all this painted up and installed. Pretty happy how it turned out. Set back down, and it's no weight on the back, so it's back end sitting up a little bit high, but it's pretty close to level. Once everything compresses, it'll be level there. Got plenty of room for adjustment, all that. So the back end's all finished up. I'm actually thinking I'm going to wait on the bed until I get this thing running and driving, just in case there's any issue with fuel pump or anything like that. We can address it without having to take the bed back off. So wait on that. Getting some brackets made for the parking brake cables. We're gonna, since we kind of eliminated the factory spot up here, we're gonna make a bracket underneath here, connect all that stuff. And then, oops, I also, looks a little messy. There's still need to clean it all up, but I got this catch can in here. I'll go ahead and toss in the name and part number for that. It's actually, it's a UPR catch can. but it's actually meant for the 2016 Mustang for the 2.3 Ecoboost, and it comes with all these pre-made hoses, which will work. I think I shortened this one already. This one right here goes around the front into the PCV valve. We'll wait till we get a radiator and intercooler in here and then kind of route it around and attach it to some of that stuff and then maybe shorten that. But nice thing about this is it comes with these factory Ford clip-ons connections, so it connects right into the factory PCV valve and the air intake right here. And I also went ahead and did a gutted the PCV valve. That was one of the recommendations. I don't remember what exactly company and YouTube channel, but I'll probably put a link in the description on that. But it's pretty simple. Got the PCV valve, and so this here is catching all the oil then. It's a pretty nice setup. It screws on. Of course, trying to do this one hand. Anyway, it's a nice billet piece, screws on, you can empty it out. It does have a 3/8 or 1/4 inch pipe fitting on the bottom. I might go ahead and put a ball valve in that so I don't have to unscrew it every time. I can just drain it. But yeah, so definitely making a lot of progress on this. Got ordered a radiator for this, got to wait for that. Got parts coming to build an intercooler and stuff coming to make the fuel system. So that's it for this episode. Getting pretty close to finishing this thing up, but unfortunately got to wait about a month for the radiator and intercooler stuff. But once that comes in, we will go ahead and install that stuff, and then it's pretty close to running. In the meantime, I'll probably install the fuel lines and stuff like that I got. I might get tempted to try to start up how it is, but stay tuned, subscribe, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Also like and comment on the video and hit that bell notification. More to come, more projects. While we're waiting on this to get parts, I got another Ranger project that we'll dive into real quick. So hope you enjoy. Talk to you guys later.